Alrighty, my secondary math 2 class, we are going to be talking about solving 1 and 2-step equations today, okay? So this shouldn't be too long of a note, so remember, if you need to, rewatch it, pause, whatever you need to do, okay? So let's get right into it. So this is kind of a review from last year, but again, it all builds on itself. So solving equations is a huge part of algebra. So solving these equations really means that we are trying to find the number that the variable represents. Okay, so imagine there's like this mystery number that these variables, these letters represent, and that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the number or value that the variable represents. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's zoom in to number 1. Let's get right into our examples, okay? So 1 through 3 are one-step equations. So knowing that these guys are one-step equations, how many things are we going to have to do, or how many steps, hint, hint, are we going to have in order to find what our variable is? Right? Just one. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to draw a line down our equal sign. What this means is that whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, I hope you guys remember that from last year, but let's go ahead and write it down. Whatever you do to one side, you must, okay, do to the other. Okay, keeping it balanced. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to untie this knot. So right now we have an equation. We're trying to undo it almost to figure out what is this n. Okay, so looking at our side with our variable. Okay, we're always starting on the side with our variable. Okay, what is actually happening with this 9 that's right next to this n? Okay, they're being multiplied. Okay, so we are going to do the opposite. Okay, we always, to untie the knot, I know we have a lot of notes here. Okay, in fact, let's write it over here. I'll zoom out so you guys can see where I'm writing. Okay, so here's another note. Okay, to untie the knot or undo something, you do the opposite, right? Tying and untying. Okay, so let's zoom back in to number 1. Again, this might be review, so sorry if this is boring to you. Okay, so what is the opposite of times by 9? Okay, the opposite of times by 9 is divide by 9. Okay, so that cancels out. So once you do the opposite, they cancel out, but you must do the same thing to both sides. Okay, so now what we have left is just our n is what's left over. Okay, bring down your equal sign. And then over here, what is 99, or negative 99, excuse me, negative 99 divided by positive 9. Remember, negative divided by a positive, it's going to give me negative 11. Boom. Okay, you know you're done when your variable is all by itself. Okay, there's no negative sign attached, so we are all done. So our answer is negative 11. Okay, so now what I want you guys to do is kind of check your work. Okay, so we're just going to check and see if we got it right. Does 9 times negative 11, or what used to be that n, equal negative 99? Yes, it does. Okay, so we know that we did it right. N equals negative 11. Beautiful. Okay, right? We only had one step, so we're solving one-step equations. Okay, let's look at number 2. Okay, so very first step, I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign, knowing that whatever I do to this side with my variable, I have to do to that side. Okay, so now let's look at the opposites. So we need to get rid of this minus 3. So what is the opposite of minus 3? Plus 3, right? So we add 3 to both sides. Okay, bring down what's left. In this case, it's just our k. Okay, and now we have negative 22 plus 3. So we're getting less negative here, you guys. Remember, negative 22, we're moving towards the 0, or the positives, plus 3. Okay, this is going to give me a negative 19. Okay, so our variable is all by itself. So let's go ahead and check to see if negative 19 really is our answer. So we have negative 19. I'm going to plug in for what used to be my k. Minus 3. Does that give me negative 22? Yes, it does. Okay, so we checked our answer. So we know that that is k equals negative 19. That is our answer. Okay, again, we only had to do one thing, one step equations. Okay, number 3. Okay, so let's start it the exact same way. So we have our line down our equal sign, knowing that whatever we do to this side, we must do to the other. Okay, so this one might throw you for a loop. Don't let it. This is not subtract 19. Okay, notice that the k is right next to the 19. This is negative 19 times k, or times by negative 19. Okay, so we have to undo times by negative 19. So what's the opposite of times by negative 19? Okay, we divide by negative 19. Okay, that cancels that out. We have to do the same thing, okay, including the sign always. Okay, bring down your k equals, okay, I'm gonna have to use a calculator because I don't know that in my head. It's totally fine for you to use a calculator as well. So now we have 380 divided by negative 19. A positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative. In this case, it's negative 20. Okay, so now let's check our work, see if we got it right. Does negative 19 times by what was the k, but we found is negative 20, does that equal positive 380? And I'll zoom out so we can check it on the calculator, see if we did do it right. Okay, so I have negative 19 times negative 20, and that does give me positive 380. So we did it right. So we know that k equals negative 20. Beautiful. Okay, now let's look at number 4. So number 4 is different because we're not solving a one-step equation anymore. We are now solving two-step equations, which means we'll have to do how many things to find our variable? 2. Okay, but we're going to solve them the exact same way. Okay, so draw your line down your equal sign. Okay, you always start on your side with your variable. Our variable is a in this case. Okay, so we have 2 8s here. Okay, we have to work from the farthest to the closest to the variable. So in this case, our farthest one from the variable is this plus 8, right? This 8 is attached to it. That's really close. So we need to get rid of this plus 8 first. So what is the opposite of plus 8? Subtract 8, right? So we need to do that to both sides. Okay, bring down what's left. In this case, it's 8 times a. Okay, equals 80 minus 8 on this side. That's going to give us 72. Okay, if this were a one-step equation, we'd be done. Our variable would be all by itself, but it's not. We still have this times by 8. Okay, so I'll do a different color. Okay, so now our second step is we have to get rid of this times by 8. What is the opposite of times by 8? Divide by 8. Okay, so that cancels out. Do the same thing to both sides. Okay, bring down your a, our equal sign, and then we have 72 divided by 8. Okay, and that is going to give me 9. So now we can plug it in and check. Okay, so we had our 8 times our A, but now we found that it's 9. Okay, plus 8, does this give us 80? So we'd have 72 plus 8. Does that give us 80? Yes, it does. So we know we got it right. So our answer is A equals 9. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's look at number 5. Okay, we're going to start it the exact same way. Draw your line down your equal sign. Okay, and what do you think is the farthest away? Okay, I'm going to put some parentheses around here, meaning that's all one piece. Now, what do you think is the farthest away? Okay, it's this divide by 3. This b minus 3, that's all connected on top. Okay, so we have to get rid of this denominator first, which means divide by 3. Okay, so what is the opposite of divide by 3? How do we get rid of that? We multiply by 3. Okay, that cancels. Have to do the same thing to both sides. So now we bring down our b minus 3 equals, okay, 3 times 2, 6. Okay, that was our first step. Now we need our second step. The only thing left to get rid of is this minus 3. How do we get rid of a minus 3? Or what's the opposite of subtract 3? We have add 3. Okay, that gets rid of that. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, bring down your b equals 6 plus 3. Also going to give me a 9. Okay, let's check our work. Let's see if we got it right. So we should have b, which we found was 9, minus 3 on top, divided by 3 should give us 2. Okay, meaning 9 minus 3, yep, that's a 6 on top divided by 3. Whoops, can't see. Does 6 divided by 3 equal 2? Yes, it does. So we know that we got it right. So our b equals 9. Beautiful. Okay, last example. Okay, we have some parentheses in here. That's okay. Let's start it the exact same way. So I draw your line down your equal sign. Okay, so when you see parentheses, what you might want to do is distribute. Okay, don't. That would be if we were tying the knot further. We're trying to untie the knot. Okay, so we need to get rid of one of these pieces. Which piece is farthest away from the m? Notice that the 3 is inside the parentheses with the m. Okay, it's this times by negative 4. Okay, so we need to get rid of this times by negative 4. It's multiplying because it's right next to the parentheses. So what is the opposite of times by negative 4? Divide by negative 4. Okay, you have to include that sign. Do the same thing to both sides. Okay, bring down what's left. We have 3 plus m equals 32, a positive 32 divided by a negative 4. What is that going to give me? It's going to give me negative 8. I'm going to check that just in case. Yep, negative 8. Okay, so now what do I need to get rid of? 3 plus m. It's not multiplying, but it's adding, right? So what is the opposite of add 3 or plus 3, okay? Because there's this invisible addition sign right there because it's positive. So what is the opposite of plus 3? Subtract 3. Okay, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. It's a positive m, which means it's just m. Okay, negative 8 minus 3, so we're getting more negative here, is going to give me negative 11. Okay, my variable's all by itself, so let's go ahead and check to see if that's our actual answer. So I'm going to kind of write it backwards, but that's okay. So we have 3 plus m, but we figured out that our m was negative 11. Okay, times by negative 4. Okay, this is supposed to equal positive 32. So let's check. Okay, so when we plus a negative, what we're really doing is just subtracting. So I have 3 minus 11. That's going to give me negative 8 times negative 4. Does that give me 32? Negative 8 times negative 4, negative times a negative equals a positive. Yes, it does. Okay, so we know that our answer, we did do it correctly. So our answer is m equals negative 11. Beautiful. Okay. So hopefully, if you guys wanted to fill out the notes, I linked the blank ones. So go ahead, re-watch this video if you need to. The notes are not required for you to fill out, but I do highly recommend it. Okay? You guys are awesome.